So in this lesson, we'll be talking about graphs and tables for categorical data. So remember, we talked about two different types of variables, qualitative and quantitative. And the qualitative variables, we said, could also be called categorical variables. So we're going to be focusing on that for this lesson and talking about different visual ways of displaying this data once we collect it. So one word that we'll see a lot is frequency. By frequency, we just mean the number of observations in each category. So we have categories, the number in each category. A frequency distribution is a listing of all the values that a variable can take together with the frequencies corresponding to each value. The relative frequency of a particular category is its frequency divided by the sample size. And a relative frequency distribution is a listing of all the values that the variable can take together with the relative frequencies. So we'll see what that means in just a minute. A bar graph is used to represent the frequencies or relative frequencies for categorical data. So there are two different ideas here, frequency and relative frequency. And here's how we construct a bar graph. On the horizontal axis, we'll first provide a label for each category. Then we'll draw rectangles. These are the bars. And it's important that they be of equal width. And the height will represent the frequency or relative frequency. We want to make sure that there's space, little gaps between the bars, and they're not touching each other. A particular type of bar graph is this Pareto chart, in which the rectangles are presented in decreasing order from left to right. But most of the time, you'll just be asked to construct a bar chart, and it doesn't matter what order they come in. One other type of chart is a pie chart or a pie graph, and it will look like a circle divided into sections or slices, wedges, and each section will represent a category. The size of the section then is proportional to the relative frequency of the category. So let's look at an example. The blood types of a class of 25 nursing students are shown here. The four categories are A, B, AB, and O. Use this information to construct the table or graph indicated in the exercise. So let's first start with a frequency distribution. So we're going to have categories, and then we're going to count how often they occur. So this will look like blood types. And we'll have type and frequency. Types are A, B, AB, and O. And now we just need to count. So first, I'll count the A's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then the B's. 1, 2, 3. And the O's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And for AB, we see that there's just one occurrence. This is not necessarily a real-life sample. But it's as simple as that. Frequency is just how many 11 A's, 3 B's, 1 AB, and 10 O's. The next thing we're asked is to do the relative frequency distribution. So this is going to be very similar. Except we're going to have relative frequencies instead of frequencies. So one other thing that might be nice over here in our frequency chart is to have a total. And it looks like we have 24, 25. Right. And we need to know the total to do the relative frequencies. So again, our types are A, B, AB, and O. We can put total here as well. And the relative frequency is going to be the frequency divided by the total. So in the case of A, it's going to be 11 over 25. Or 0.44. In the case of B, it's going to be 3 over 25. Or 0.12. In the case of AB, it's 1 out of 25. 0.04. And in the case of O, it's 10 out of 25. Let's straighten that line up a little bit. 10 out of 25, and that should be 0.40. Now, if we total it up, we should get 25 out of 25. Again, 10 plus 1 plus 3 plus 11, 25. And that should be 1.00. So you can always check here. 0.44 plus 0.12 is 0.56, plus 0.04 is 0.6, plus 0.4 is 1. So it looks like we did it right. So you can see the difference between frequency. Frequency is the number 11. Relative frequency is a much smaller number. It's out of the total, how many? 0.44, or 11 out of 25. Okay, now we'll construct a bar chart. Extend our page a little. And we had instructions in the lecture for constructing a bar chart. So let's make sure we're following them. First, on the horizontal axis, provide a label for each category, then draw rectangles of equal width for each category, and the height of each rectangle represents the frequency or relative frequency for that category. Make sure the bars are not touching. So we're going to have something like this. Here's my horizontal axis, and I need a label for each category. So one blood type is A, one blood type is B, one blood type is AB, and one blood type is O. So I have a label for each. And I'll be using the frequencies. So this should actually be frequency on this side, and the title of the graph could be blood types. So let's say we want this to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So we know if we have an odd number, we just go halfway between those steps. And we need to consult our frequency chart. So for A, we had 11. So we'll go up to 11. So I'm going to make a rectangle going up to 11. That's my bar for A. If I want to, I can put the frequency 11 there. Then for blood type B, I had 3 people. So I want my bars to be the same width. So I need to try to draw it about the same width, and I want to make sure there's a gap between, which is why I left myself plenty of space. So I'm going to draw a bar for B, go up to about 3, and down. So I have 3 people with blood type B. Since I'm drawing it by hand, it might not be perfectly accurate, the width, but it should be about the same width. For blood type AB, I had 1. So same thing, just go up to 1 and draw a bar. And for blood type O, we had 10 people. So this will be my my bar for O. Go up to about 10. And that would be my bar chart. So I should be able to tell that A is the highest because it has a count of 11. It's the tallest bar, but all my bars should be equal in width, and there should be gaps in between. The next thing I'm asked to construct is a pie chart. So for a pie chart, we're going to need to use relative frequency because we're talking about the wedges. So first, I'd want to draw a nice big circle. And I can say this is going to be blood types. And I know that I'm going to divide this circle into pieces. One piece should be blood type A, one piece for blood type B, one piece for blood type AB, and one piece for blood type O. So I need to look now at my relative frequencies here. I said that A, blood type A, is 11 out of 25, or 0.44, so a little less than half. And blood type B is 0.12, AB is 0.04, and O is 0.4. So we just try to do the best we can to get about 44%. And I need one other piece to be about 40%. And then one piece to be 12% and one piece to be 4%. So if this is the biggest piece, the 44%, then this should be my blood type A. And I could put 44% or 0.44. Blood type O was 40%. Blood type B was 12%, and blood type AB was 4%. So, as with the bar chart, it's not perfectly accurate, it's not perfectly symmetrical. We could create this kind of a graph with a computer program and it would look nicer, more symmetric, but this is perfectly acceptable for our purposes, as long as we have roughly the right idea here, that 44% is a little less than half, 40% is less than 44, so it should be slightly smaller, 4% should be very small, 12% should be pretty small, and we label them. So actually what we would want is that this point where the lines all meet should be the center of the circle. So I did not do a very great job drawing it. You would want the center of your circle to be where you're breaking everything up. I'm not sure that that looks any better, but you get the idea. And we'll stop this video here and do some more examples in the next video.